the minister will deliver them to me, partly because the minister himself will have to deal with a lot that is in the presentations or inputs. Even if you talk about such a possibility of a meeting with other ministers, they would understand what are the concerns and suggestions that the traditional leaders are making. So we could get out of that. I appreciated the sharp criticism of the law advisors. They are called state law advisors. Ukuthi njengoba be-advise iParliament, yintoni lento bangayi-advise kakuhle, yintoni le wrong phakubo, kufinyelwa kolwazi lomthetho noma kukonqena usebenza, yintoni ibuya qho kuthiwe ayihambisani nomthetho sisekelo. I think it would be absolutely important. There's a number of issues that Shawe raised, which are in the laws or sections of the Constitution for that matter. So I just wanted to make that request as well, that if they could be put together, these inputs, and then be given to us. I might not be able to deal with all the issues, therefore. This is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. To say, let us just see what we want to do. With regard to the address, there were some points which I thought were very much important and which they've been touched. I think why I'm happy with the inputs is that they've actually touched almost all the issues. This is absolutely important. I think one of the points that the inputs made or the address made was that was an indication that we've declared 2017 as the year of Oliver Reginald Tambo, the former president of the ruling party. And we said we are deepening it, or we are declaring it a year of Oliver Tambo because we want to deepen unity of the nation. And this point was touched upon by Chawe in particular, of the need for us to unite. And we thought we should, because as somebody was saying, that South Africans seem to be very agitated. They seem to be very violent. They seem to be not having all the respects that you know about us. What can we do together to help ourselves? And this leader that we are remembering resembles or embraced all the values that we need as a country. We need to be united. We need to solve issues by discussing and listening to one another and finding a solution all together. That was his nature. That's how he was. He influenced his organization in such a way that the culture of voting in his organization disappeared. He dealt with issues on the basis of consensus, which was an indication that people were ready to listen to one another, not to fight, not to shout, but to find logic, to find solutions on problems. And I think part of what we are talking about is what kind of things we need to do. If the government is aware that these are the things that worry the traditional leaders, what then do we need to do? He will never sit with a problem without finding a solution. So I believe using him to look at what we need to do probably on a daily basis, but also in our lives. How do we handle ourselves as individuals, as countries? But also, how do we handle ourselves as groups in the country? If, for an example, some among us feel our issues have not been addressed, what do we need to do? We need to immediately say, let us address the issues. I am certain there is no issue you cannot find a solution on. And I've always said, we in Africa have a gift that there is no problem we could not resolve historically. That's why we had no prisons. Because if there was somebody who goes wrong, a solution would be found. The fact that prisons were developed is because those who developed prisons is because they couldn't find solutions. So the shortcut, send him to prison. Has not solved the problem. As you know, some of them come out there being now professional criminals rather than less. So, in other words, we are saying South Africans should find a way. And there's an anecdote that I like to tell, that even if a man wanted to kill another justifiably, people had a way to stop it, with him being satisfied that indeed my matter has been dealt with, and the matter will end there. But also carrying. We used to carry a great deal. That is why we would look after our children. Looking after our children was one of the main things. Everything we did was to make our children be protected. That's part of the reason that you hear the point that Nkosi Matanzima was making, that you can't have the children growing in the house for the rest of their years in schools. You don't know them. They only come at night to sleep and leave very early. You have no time to participate in their growth. I think that's a point he was just making. So it is important that we can sit and talk about these matters. And the traditional leaders have a role to play. You can't stop them from playing that role. It's absolutely crucial. So thank you very much for really taking that issue also seriously. I think the issue that you have also discussed, which I said I would love you to discuss, is the issue of the radical social economic transformation, so that we can attain the full economic liberation of our people, which has been our mission for more than a century. Because when we fought for freedom, we wanted freedom so that we can enjoy what God gave us, the land and its products, so to speak. It was taken away. Now I know that some people seem to be very shy to talk about the truth. Because if you take the land, you take the very life, what make you to survive. If you talk about three challenges, poverty, inequality, and then unemployment, those are the children of land dispossession. Indlala lisiphetheyo ngoku izalwa kukohluthwa umhlaba wethu esasiphila ngawo. It's a critical point. Now, we've been saying, how do we get back? Now, we say radical economic transformation. Now, I know that people, commentators, say many things about this. And it will never be wrong. It's absolutely correct. And we've tried to explain it. And I think I did explain when I was here. I would like to just say, what do we mean by this in a brief fashion? What do we mean? So that if people say to the traditional leaders, you talk about the radical transformation of the economy, what is that? It's just another slogan. So we said in the State of the Nation address, as we talked, this is important. Because people are asking questions, we have simplified the matter for them to understand in terms of the definition of it as we understand it, of what do we mean. We mean fundamental change in the structure, systems, institutions, and patterns of ownership, management, and control of the economy in favor of all South Africans, especially the poor, the majority of whom are African and women. In other words, we're saying the economy, we must feel it, we must handle it. You are in every country in the world. If you go to China, Chinese are in charge of their economy. If you are in India, Indians are in charge of their economy. Wherever you go. It is only here where the majority, the indigenous, are not. Now, it's a matter that we need to talk about, not to fight people. But at the heart of this is the land question, which again, we have talked about. It's absolutely important that some of these issues we keep in mind. If we don't deal with it, and I'm happy that the traditional leaders have dealt with this issue very effectively, and I think we are at one. Uchawa says, one of our leaders many years ago described the problem as a fundamental problem. The land question is central to achieving reconciliation, because how do we have peace and stability when the land is not resolved? So it is one of the central pieces of reconciliation and empowerment of our people so that they can be proud of who they are. They can have dignity. If you are in poverty, you don't even have dignity. This was done deliberately. Now, if we are free, we've got political power, why can't we deal with it? To bring the dignity to ourselves, and without fighting anything. And that's why I said in the State of the Nation address, we urge traditional leaders to work with government and all other sectors in society to bring about fundamental land reforms. It's absolutely crucial. Unfortunately, Inkosi Buthelezi Shenge has left because he seemed to be having some concerns about how we want to deal with this. He likens what we are saying like what the Zimbabweans have done, and that if we go the Zimbabwe route, then it will be a problem. But we are not saying what the Zimbabweans have done. It's a mistaken understanding of what we are saying. Zimbabwe had a different thing. They had, firstly, even Zimbabweans, they had an agreement with the British in Lancaster House about land. And the British did not honor what was agreed, which was, among other things, they will give money so that when land is taken, the landowners will be paid. They did not. And this is what made the things to go out of way in Zimbabwe. So if you just liken the Zimbabwean situation with us without giving the background, I think is a problem. But in our case, we are saying we must do everything within the law. Precisely because we want to do everything within the law and the Constitution. We are not saying let us now go and take the land. We are saying let us amend the Constitution. That is not anything wrong. Constitutions are amended all the time to fix the wrongs. So there is nothing irresponsible about it. There's everything responsible. We are even saying, let us audit the land and therefore deal with the period we did not deal with. And I think from my point of view, it's correct. We can give evidence about land. I'm sure each one, maybe many of us have got very specific accounts we could give where we were removed from fertile land, pushed by force into land that were not productive. And the amount of land that we were given, very small. The population has grown, the land is not growing. And therefore that brings more poverty, more inequality, more unemployment. No one is saying, let us go and grab. No. We are saying, let us do everything within the law. If we don't have the law, or the Constitution does not address it, let us use democratic methods to correct the Constitution so that we deal. You can't have a Constitution that has clauses that makes people remain in poverty. Then that Constitution can't be good. The Constitution must help to make every South African not live in poverty. That's the Constitution we want. It's just a pity that Umtwana left, but we are neighbors. I can always go and have a cup of tea in his house. We could talk about this. So the land question is absolutely an important issue. One of the key grievance of our people is the high crime levels. There are communities where people cannot even walk freely in the streets because of crime. I said so. Crimes such as drug trafficking, robbery, human trafficking, rape, and other horrible crimes. Let's refuse to tolerate crime. We have tolerated it too long. Now, the point we're making here is that it's no longer just a government or police issue. It's a national issue that we all need to come together. We have ideas which we believe we need to talk about. For an example, we think we should work, galvanize or mobilize the entire nation to fight crime. Let us have popular people's committees, street committees, village committees that are anti-crime. So everybody must participate to assist the police, so that we say in our areas, no crime must be committed. We must stop buying stolen goods, because that encourages crime. We must find the people who are said to be drug lords. If they are known that they're drug lords, we can't just allow them to leave, because when we search in their houses, we don't find anything because they hide it somewhere. If they are known, let us have the kind of law that is going to say, if people say we know he sells it, we are able to deal with that. In other words, let us have laws that are not difficult to arrest criminals, that make it easy to arrest criminals. I've gone to police stations as I am going to places. Police complain that they arrest people, people are released by courts. It's a simple matter that we need to deal with. Perhaps it's a government matter. Because it is true. And once they come out, they kill people to kill evidence so that nobody gives evidence in court. You can't say we don't know. What then do we do as a nation? So these are the matters I believe we need to deal with. One of the concerns that people are raising is the issue of people saying, let government manage migration better than we are doing. As a matter we could talk about. I was in one area in KZN at the border. Every border, this is an old age thing, there's a problem. People living along the borders. But if that becomes, in a sense, a place to hide criminals, I mean, they cross cars. You know for the fact that before 1994, the fences were electrified, and it was killing people. And therefore, there was a feeling that, look, let us remove the fence because it's killing people. Because people cross, they are neighbors. But if you do so, you must then have measures to replace what was there, like your electrical fence, etc. These are the matters we say we need to talk to, and many of these areas are, in fact, the areas that are under AMACOS, and therefore working together becomes absolutely important. As I said, one of the areas that has been raised sharply, I think Inkosi Tobojane raised the matter of the matters of the Khoisan people. I think that is an issue that must be put very squarely, because in a sense, for at least one minister, which I think was also mentioned, Minister Ngwinti, has been interacting. Does he need more support? Are we failing to deal with this simple issue? I know that as I was told by the leaders of the Khoisan people, that the current provincial government was not recognizing them, and therefore making it very difficult. Can't we deal with those matters? And therefore establish it as Madiba made the start? I think we can. These are matters that we need to sit and talk. In the process, we can then isolate the difficulties and then find a solution. As I say, there is no issue that a solution cannot be found. Nobody does not know what happened in this area when the colonialists came. Why can't we resolve those matters? I think those are the matters we can resolve. In another sense, now that you have an input that we have made very formally in this House, that now says there is an input made by the traditional leaders with regard to the matter of the Khoisan people. What do we do? I'm sure these matters will be taken forward and see how far do we go. Otherwise, Chair, I am happy with the debate. I think there is more material for us to work from together and adjust the manner in which we work and then see how far we could go. I must thank you very much for what you have done. I hope the culture of the debate is going to be kept in this manner because it helps. You are well informed about the issues, and therefore your contributions are absolutely crucial. That you have got an opportunity to address government on the matters where you think there are shortcomings, so that we can work together to correct those kind of shortcomings. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm sure we'll meet again, and by the time we meet next year, we should say, on the issues we discussed, there are matters that have been followed, and we have indeed seen some progress. But I would like to thank you very much indeed. It is always a wonderful thing to be here with you, Your Majesties, and indeed all the traditional leaders. Minister, I would like also to thank you with your team and thank the chairperson of the NCOP, because I know she does go out to areas. She does not just sit in Parliament only. That is to be encouraged. And thank those who are here from other sectors. This is an important one. Any nation is a nation because of what it is. It can define itself, not in terms of other people, in terms of what it is. I think this is a good process. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Technology is replacing.
Asuzibongela Mongameli. On behalf of Amakhosi onke ala babanzunza.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Your Excellency, Honorable President, Amakhosi. I firstly, President, want to thank those that raised the issues with you and congratulate them as well for raising the issues sharply, as you have also intimated that you felt good it is the first time that we debated with issues. So I want to thank my team for representing the institution well, and also do say, President, that this is the outgoing House. We are going towards elections as well. So this is the end of our term. Hence the request that was made by Umadiba, of which I am sure Gudi Iwelendlebene Ezwil, Mongameli. So we want to thank you for always availing yourself and also for dealing with issues that the institution is always raising. And also on the commitment that the President has made that we will have a platform like this where we'll engage with ministers and discuss these issues that Amakhosi have been raising. Mina, not Deputy Minister Bapela, it's that time of the year again where it is time for initiation. We'll be crisscrossing the country, trying to resolve issues of initiation. And the biggest question that, President, we've always been asked, and Nkosima Tanzima always asks this question, Oguti, I can see Nkosi Mahlangu, with Deputy Minister Bapela, you are here. What do you have esandleni? Nizosinceda ngantoni? It's the issue of resources, President. With as much as we want to resolve this problem, siyasibhekana no Deputy Minister mabasibuza ukuthi sipetheni esandleni, we would have nothing. So in 2013, we lost many lives of young men. And this year, KwaZunza as well in Mpumalanga, there's a bigger number of boys that are going in the Eastern Cape as well. And I've heard a lot of complaints in terms of resources. This Department of Traditional Affairs is supposed to be leading that process. But because of lack of resources, it is unable to do anything around the issue of initiation. And I plead with you, Honorable President, that the lives of these young men are very important to the nation. And I think we need to do all in our powers to save them. I think on that note, we want to thank you again, President, and kwangathi ungaba nonyaka omuhle. Umadiba ushiza ukuthi nani you are going to go through the process esoya kiyo. Kwangathi bangaya kahle laba bazoya kiyo. Bafunde kithi. Siyabonga. Thank you. All right.
Sithokoza kakhulu Nzunza. May I now make the following announcements: that the procession will leave the chamber led by the Sergeant-at-Arms. I request that you remain seated as the procession leaves the chamber, and you are all invited for lunch, which will be served in the old Assembly restaurant. It is still lunch. I wish to extend my sincere gratitude on behalf of the Institution of Traditional Leadership for the presence of everyone in this house who blessed this glorious occasion. Your presence always makes it a success. We are very grateful as the institution of your presence. We have come to the conclusion of this session now, and the House is adjourned until further notice. Thank you.